digital business. I'm Nigel Fennick, and today I'm talking to the Global Chief Digital Officer at Mars, Sandeep Dadlani. I'm interested in your perspective on emerging technologies. I mean, we already talked about the fact that technology is not always the answer, but a lot of the things that are enabling new forms of creation of value for customers are coming from emerging technologies. What's your point of view on sort of what emerging technologies are going to have the biggest impact over the next 5-10 years?
Nigel, at Mars, we've been very active in experimenting with advanced AI, deep neural networks, blockchain, augmented reality pilots, and now some FPGA, field array computing, some quantum computing, and so on and so forth. But we've really been cautious with very frugal early pilots to figure out if they're really solving problems for us. And so the one big checkpoint we always have is, are you clear on the problem you're trying to solve? After my first 3 blockchain pilots, we were clear that we've reframed blockchain into a protected, distributable, shared, write-only Excel sheet. And we said, if your problem needs a protected, write-only, distributed, shared Excel sheet, maybe we should think about blockchain. Otherwise, you don't need to. So we could really weed out hundreds of blockchain use cases and say, we don't need blockchain for this. AI, on the other hand, once we're very clear of the person we were trying to amplify, the radiologist, the factory worker, the consumer, etc., we had hundreds of sprints automatically unlock with problems to be solved. During Halloween, we launched this app called Treat Town because people couldn't physically trick or treat, safely. At least the perception was they couldn't. And within that one app, there was AI at play. There was the latest gaming technologies at play. There was advanced user experiences at play. But we were not going in with the intent of using those technologies. We were going in to solve a consumer experience problem. So my personal belief is that there's got to be very small teams in your company working on early experimentation with select partners on technology, so we just know what kind of problems it could solve. But we really can't have people with a hammer trying to chase and find everything that looks like a nail and make everything look like a nail. And then you'll find that I think the waste or the hype of technology then automatically goes away. And then most times, it's not perfect, but most times we're bringing in the right technologies for the right uses. And so far, from our experience, I'm very excited about deep learning and neural networks. I feel there are so many use cases that we can solve. I'm very excited about automation if used well in the right use cases. I'm not particularly excited so far in what I have seen on blockchain, but that's just my exposure to it. There could be other uses that are still emerging. And when it comes to advanced computing, there's quantum computing or using FPGA for certain use cases. For example, we have to move 30 million high-resolution dog X-rays from one lab to the other. That kind of edge computing, we feel very good about using those kind of advanced technology, but we can't take it everywhere, if you know what I mean.
This is often described as sort of having this portfolio view of, there's a certain percentage looking a long way out maybe, but there's less of that percentage and much more the things that you can do today with the technology you have available today, focus on the business at hand today, is where the bulk of the effort is put. Is that fair to say?
I think what I'm saying is I want the consumer problems to dictate how fast technologies get adopted.
Yeah.
I feel deep learning will get adopted very, very fast, even within Mars. I'm not categorizing it emerging or not, because we know what it can do. It will probably spread through hundreds of use cases in Mars, purely because the hype is around the kind of problems it's beginning to solve versus the technology itself. And then things will move from emerging to mainstream. Some things will move much, much faster than the others. So we are trying hard not to compartmentalize it and say, oh, you guys are the only ones who are allowed to touch this. Well, if you're solving 3 or 4 problems meaningfully, actually spread it as fast as you can. That's the idea.
Love that. Thanks, Sandeep. That's great. So we heard you talk about how important it is to have small teams focused on experimenting with emerging technologies in order to be able to see how they might be able to contribute value. But for the most part, let the business value and the customer value drive the application of emerging technologies. Figure out how the technologies can be used to solve a customer problem or a business problem and apply them, potentially combine together to create new ways of solving that problem or new ways of creating value for customers. This has been a great conversation, Sandeep. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. This is Digital Business. I'm Nigel Fennick.